Two lessons. Two lessons from one story. The lessons are this. The show goes on without you, and when is enough, enough? In the Northeast, here in New Jersey, New York, there's a sports radio station called Boomer and Carton on the Fan. Boomer is one guy, Carton is another guy. The Fan is the name of the radio station, and they talk about sports. This show has been on AM radio for about 10 years. About a day or so ago, one of the guys, Carton, got arrested for a Ponzi scheme because he was a gambler and his gambling debts had gotten to the millions. So to try to pay off his debts, he did a Ponzi scheme with the public and the FBI arrested him. This was one of the most popular shows on the radio. I mean, we know AM radio is kind of like dying, but it's still very popular, made a lot of money, and because it had so much popularity, a lot of people, went to this guy, Boomer and Carton. They go to these guys for an endorsement. They go to them for favors. They go to them for various things. Because when you're in a position of power, in your job, if you're the manager, in your job, if you're the director, in your job, if you're the lead guy, people want to be friends with you. They want to kind of have an in with you. They talk to you a little bit more, a little bit nicer to you because they want a favor. They want they want your influence. They want your influence in their favor. But when you take a turn for the worse and when you no longer have that influence, people step right over you. People don't even want to take your call. I heard this morning they said on the show, the guy who's left, Boomer, Carton is the guy who got arrested. Boomer said, well, the show goes on. A day later, after 10 years of working together, after 10 years of building something great together, a day later, what did they say? What's basically their statement? We love the guy, but the show goes on. And that's how it'll be with you. You may work for a company 10, 20, 30 years. You may work for whatever. And then all of a sudden you get laid off. All of a sudden something happens. The show goes on without you. It's not to be cynical. Meaning it doesn't mean you should have a negative mind towards life. And it does not mean you shouldn't treat your job preciously. You should care about your work. You should do a good job. You should work hard for whatever company, whatever position you have. I'm not saying it to be negligent. What I'm saying is this lesson needs to be learned so we don't become prideful. If you're in a position of power right now, don't think you'll always have that position. If you think that the company couldn't do it without you, you're being a little bit too prideful. Maybe you add a lot of good things to that radio show. Maybe you add a lot of good things to that office. Maybe you add a lot of good things to that work site. But let me tell you something. If the crap hits the fan and they get rid of you, yeah, you'll be missed. Yeah, it'll be a little bit harder, but life goes on. The show goes on without you. Never forget it. Work hard. Stay positive. Don't let that make you negative. But I want you to understand this. You're not as important as you think you are, even if you are important. You know what I'm saying? The show will go on without you, no matter who you are, the Pope, the President, or anyone in between. Never forget it. You are replaceable and you will at some point be replaced. Do not allow that to make you cynical and do not allow that to make you not give effort, but you need to be humble in always realizing that in this world, the show will go on without you. If you're Steve Jobs, you know what Steve Jobs' widow is doing? She's on a yacht with some other young guy getting banged out and they're living off Steve Jobs' inheritance. I hate to say it, but the show went on without him. You think you're too big? It doesn't matter. The show will go on without you. Some people are dying to be a widow. Some people are dying to get a divorce. So the show can go on without their significant other. I hate to say that, but it's the truth because that's the way this world works. That's the way human nature works on average. There's always exceptions, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't take it that personal because the show goes on without you. Now, the other lesson I want you to know, when is enough enough? Meaning, from this one story that I just told you, the other part of the story is this guy, Carton, who got arrested on a Ponzi scheme, he was making $250,000 a year just from that radio show. Not including his endorsements and, the length of his contract, just the base salary. $250,000 a year. I mean, you can live a great life. You can have everything you need, and you can have a lot, almost all of your wants fulfilled. He was basically in the top 1% of all earners in this world. But it wasn't enough. He wanted more from gambling. And I've got caught in that cycle, whether it's gambling, whether it's stock trading, whether it's risky investments, whether it's starting a business. I make great money. No matter how much money you make, you're going to want more. I used to say when I was at a certain point, when I was like very young, and once I have $1,000 in the bank account, just in savings, that's like all I want. Once I have this amount, that's all I want. But let me tell you something. I got way past that. And you can have more, you will get to the amount of money that you want saved, and then you'll want more. And then you'll say, well, all right, now I have this money, I want to put it to work for me, and then you'll put it in certain investments, and it's like you want more and more and more. Now, it's a tough balance, because to grow your money and to grow yourself, you have to, you don't have to, but it's almost like you have to have a level of ambition to grow, whether it's your career or your money. So you got to want more, but you have to know that at some point, enough has got to be enough. At some point, you got to say, I make enough per year. I need to have a certain set fixed amount of expenses, and I need to be content with that. Because if you don't, you'll say, I want $50,000 a year. Then you'll say, I want $100,000 a year. Then you say, I want $150,000 a year. Then you'll buy 2 houses. You'll have 3 cars. You'll have, this, that, and the other. And then before you know, you got all these expenses, and $150,000 a year isn't enough for you. You're not happy. You want more. So now you're either doing risky investments, or, you're trying to do 20 different businesses, or gambling, whatever. The insensible, the craving for more. It's just like sitting down with a pizza pie. You have one slice and it's not going to be enough. You want more. Human greed, human nature is it wants to get fed more. You have to calm human nature with spiritual nature and say, hold on, let's be content and thankful. And then be very careful on how much we are willing to sacrifice for more. From a stress and mental perspective and everything else. You need to be mindful that at some point, always strive to be better and improve, and try to do different things. And we will do. I want to grow. I want to make more money. But at some point, you got to say, look, enough's enough. Because again, you can make millions of dollars a year, and there's people that make millions of dollars a year, they still go bankrupt. Because they put it in risky things. I mean, at some point, you got to minimize expenses and be content. It's very hard to do. Very hard to do. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't start businesses and you shouldn't do certain risky investments. And I still might. So I can't give a blanket statement. But what I can say is the principle, the life lesson, at some point, you have to have a mindset that enough is enough. And if you don't, you will end up craving for more. It will lead to unhealthy behavior that will manifest in gambling or some type of risky thing. And then it'll never stop getting fed. You'll have to turn to illegal activities to fulfill it, and it's unhealthy. But the mind can easily go there. Easily. I've seen good people, great people go there, and I know any of us can go there. So I'm not prideful in saying, this is a video isn't to shame anyone, including Carton. If anything, it makes me more compassionate. But this guy Carton too, he was a little bit of show off. He was a little bit like he would take digs at people. We all do, but you know what I'm saying? 2 life lessons here from one story. One is, if you want to Google it, Google Boomer and Carton. You're going to see this guy's story who gambled. He made $250,000 a year, but it wasn't enough because he had sports gambling on the side. He had a lot of debts. He had to pay off casinos and other guys. And so the 2 lessons that we learn from it is not in judgment. I'm praying for this guy. I pray for everybody. I don't want to see anybody do bad. I want to try to learn from this. The 2 things we can learn is, one is the show is going to go on without you. Your best friend, your wife, your lover, whoever, if something happens to you, you get in a bad enough position, the show will go on without you. People will love you. They'll send you flowers, but the show will go on without you. Still be positive and still add effort. Just know that. So you're a little bit more humble, and you take praise with a grain of salt, and you take criticism with a grain of salt, because you realize whether people praise you or whether they criticize you, if you can't help them at a certain point and everybody hates you, they're going to keep going on without you. The show will go on without you. So be you. 2 is, at some point, enough has got to be enough. Minimize expenses, be content with what you have, and you have to just control yourself and not getting to the point where you're so bored that you do unhealthy stuff just to crave for more. That's what I want to share with you. That's what I always share with myself too, because I'm trying to always Say, all right, am I on the right track? Do I need to reshape something? And what can I learn from this experience? Pray for everybody and realize that any of us can be in any bad circumstance at any time. Do not take pleasure in someone else's Don't take pleasure in someone else's bad situation. If anything, let it make you more compassionate and more observant on how you live your own life. Very important. Stay inspired.